But here's
Oh
something
my
that I
gosh.
here's something I actually heard that was interesting. They said I don't know if this is true, so you can fact check me, freaking YouTube, whatever. I heard someone say that when in socialist and communist countries, when they take over, they released prisoners from the prisons, the criminals, because then they go out and they do crime stuff, and then you need the state to come in and to save and rescue you. So it's like a manufactured crisis.
Yep.
So
What?
so if you think about it, if their ultimate aim is to get guns out of our hands to make us
Oh my
a
god.
pliable populace, right? What better way than to do that than to let crime proliferate and then blame it on the thing you have to take out of our hands? Weapons, firearms, so we can't defend ourselves or resist the state. You've washed many of your police forces of patriots because you've enforced them. You forced them to get things they didn't want to get, to do things they didn't want to do. So you're getting rid of all the people that wouldn't be bootlickers. And so now you're left to a large extent in many organizations with just those people who are drones of the state, who are the boots of the state, right? And then you have a government who's been trying all these things, poking at the edges to see what we'll give, where we'll fold, where we'll crumple, while enforcing the socialist and type, agendas. It, I, I, I hesitate to give anybody that level of credit, but they have been far
I
too
mean, it
effective
makes
at moving an
sense.
agenda along.
Well,
That's all I'm
Why
saying.
else? Why else would Sarah George not prosecute gun crimes while at the same time support gun control?
Well, there's uh, one of my favorite sayings is that let me make sure I get this right. This is never
That is a
never
great.
never attribute to conspiracy that which can be easily explained by stupidity. So I
Exactly.
think you might be giving Sarah George a little much credit. That's just my personal opinion, but you're spot on that fear is the number one
Is the
motivating
mind killer?
is the number one tool that governments use to seize individual rights and more control. You're absolutely 100% correct on that.
No, you. I think you just pulled out. I believe that was Hanlon's razor, right?
Hanlon's razor, yes, sir. Yeah,
Tribute to
yeah,
malice, which could be stupidity.
yeah.
But here's what I'm saying. But who put George in office?
Now there you go. Yeah,
I'm not saying that the drones, the NPCs taking the download, right,
right.
are the ones that are the
Yeah.
masterminds. But whoever's pulling these strings and making this stuff happen, there is no way that this is all accidental. It's too much coordination. And for all my people out there who talk about reasonableness when it comes to guns, like I used to be on the side of being reasonable 10 years ago, and then I heard certain things. I thought people were being, oh, those conservatives, those Republicans are being, wow, those libertarians, they're going too far. And then I waited 10 years and I saw the things that they were talking about come to fruition, where they took an inch, then a mile, then a kilometer. And so when they talk about, anytime they talk about guns and they talk about, we just got to get rid of the assault rifles, right? Because they don't know what AR stands for. Anytime that we get rid of those scary rifles, you have
The
to think to
black
yourself,
ones.
you have to think
They're
of what
scary.
what percentage of crime is actually perpetrated by a semi-automatic rifle. What percentage of crime is actually perpetrated? It's a very small percentage of the crime.
Yeah.
Most deaths come at I think they say more people get stabbed and beaten to death with hands than get killed with rifles.
With rifles, period. Yeah, but I mean,
So
Yep.
what does that tell you?
but that I mean that's part of the plan. They know once it's the scary looking black guns, then it'll be all semi-automatic guns, and then it'll be then it'll be sniper rifles because nobody needs to shoot up to 600 yards. And what do you think a sniper rifle is going to be? It's going to be anything with a scope on it. It's going to be your daggum deer rifle, for goodness sake. And then it's going to be
Yep.
and it's going to be nobody needs a handgun. Nobody needs to conceal a gun like that.
Oh.
And the majority of deaths come with handguns, and and those are the ones that we
Oh,
really
yeah.
need to ban. And then it's going to be shotguns because nobody needs that much close range stopping power. You can blow a hole the size of a dinner plate in an intruder. Why do you need a 12-gauge shotgun?
Blow the lung.
My goodness.
You blow the lungs
And it's
right
just-
out of the body.
They're so predictable. It's just not even funny. But But
Oh
I
my
think a
gosh.
better point that I like to try to make is that, Ben touched on a small percentage of crimes occur with rifles, et cetera, et cetera. Your right to keep and bear arms doesn't come into and go out of existence with the violent crime rate or the suicide rate or anything else. It's not a
Mm,
function of
Look,
that. Okay, you are born with this right, and this is, if I
ooh,
could summarize our entire
mm,
position, I tell people this. I said, look, you have a right to your life and to yourself, right? Okay, so therefore you have a
yes.
natural right to protect your life. Okay, and that
mm,
implies a right to access the means with which to do so. It would be like if you had a right to speak freely, but only to an approved audience about an approved subject, and the speech was pre-written
well,
for you. Okay, it's not a right at all. It's a cruel joke, right? So if you
Yep.
don't have
ooh,
the right to access the means with which to defend yourself, which in modern times is a firearm, and immediately do so whenever you need one without having to ask permission from the government first, that is infringement. Period. I mean,
you
it's
one
just
one
All
thing,
right.
so.
I
but
think we can end the show right there. All
I
right.
know,
Thank
but
you, ladies and gentlemen.